They won't fear your fists. They won't fear your money. They won't even fear your success. They will fear your mind. A mind that no longer needs validation. A mind that cannot be manipulated by trends, applause, or rejection. A mind so grounded in truth that lies dissolved in its presence. Because the most dangerous person in any room is the one who has mastered their own perception. The one who no longer reacts, who doesn't need to prove, who doesn't chase. They terrify people, not because they are cruel, but because they are clear. And clarity? Clarity is power. Not the kind they teach in classrooms, but the kind that breaks you free from the invisible cages you didn't know you were living in. Let me ask you something. Who would you be without their praise? Who would you be if no one ever clapped? If no one ever approved? If there were no mirrors, no followers, no titles, no likes? Would you still believe in your own worth? Would you still move like your life matters? Because that's where the strong mind begins, in the silence of self-certainty. Not the arrogance of ego, but the calm of conviction. It begins in the ruins, the rubble of betrayal, the wreckage of identity collapse, the night you realized no one was coming to save you. That's when the old mind, the borrowed mind, dies, and a new mind begins to form. You build it with questions they taught you never to ask. You sculpt it from the pain they told you to suppress. You sharpen it with truths they buried under comfort. It's not about becoming a genius. It's about becoming aware. Aware of your thoughts. Aware of your reactions. Aware of the shadows you inherited from people too afraid to face their own. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So ask yourself, how much of your life is truly yours? And how much is just inherited programming? Because a strong mind is not just intelligent. It is sovereign. It belongs to you. You don't outsource it to opinion. You don't hand it over in relationships. You don't offer it to fear in moments of uncertainty. You own it fully, relentlessly, silently. You don't build a strong mind by reading books alone. You build it by reading yourself. The way you flinch when someone disapproves, the way you shrink around power, the way you seek external safety to avoid internal war. Those are the places you start. The patterns, the triggers, the wounds, they're not flaws. They're invitations, blueprints, messages from the psyche begging you to evolve. This is where psyphoria begins, the psychological euphoria of finally seeing yourself not as broken, but as becoming. You stop running from your story. You read it, you underline it, you rewrite it. You stop performing the character they gave you and start embodying the one you were born to become. That's the moment people begin to step back, not because you're cruel, but because your presence no longer dances to their delusions. You've become uncomfortable to their illusions. A strong mind does not need chaos to feel alive. It thrives in clarity. Clarity about who you are. Clarity about what matters. Clarity about what you will no longer tolerate from others or yourself. This clarity comes with a price. You lose access to the crowd. You lose the comfort of being liked by everyone. You lose a fake peace that came from always saying yes. But what you gain is everything else. The ability to walk away with no bitterness. The ability to stand alone and still feel whole. The ability to observe manipulation and not be moved by it. You don't need revenge. You don't need to show them. You don't need to be loud, because your existence becomes a mirror. And most people can't handle their own reflection. When it's no longer filtered through your people-pleasing, you want to build a mind that terrifies people, Then stop reacting. Observe. Wait. Study. Decide. Because the more reactive you are, the more predictable you become. And predictable minds are easy to control. But the one who watches in silence, the one who chooses response over reaction, the one who pauses before speaking, that one is dangerous. Because that one can't be baited. That one can't be rushed. That one sees the game being played and plays a different one. Not the ego game, not the revenge game, but the legacy game, the long game, the one built on patience, pattern recognition, and purpose. And purpose, let's talk about it. Most people think purpose is a destination, but it's not. Purpose is a lens. It's how you see everything. It's how you suffer. It's how you rise. It's how you interpret every failure, every loss, every challenge. The strong mind is not one that avoids struggle. It's one that alchemizes it. You don't ask, why is this happening to me? You ask, what is this shaping me into? And the answer to that is terrifying to those who still live in reaction, because they haven't met their mind. They haven't faced it. They run from it, distract it, numb it, sedate it with opinions, noise, entertainment, and dopamine. But you're done being numb. You're here to awaken, not to become better than them, but to become whole. That's the true revolution, to build a mind that no longer betrays the soul it was meant to protect. Good. Now we arrive at the part where most break. Not because they're weak, but because the world trained them to quit anything that doesn't offer instant relief. But if you're going to build a mind so strong, it terrifies people, you need to forge it in the place most avoid. Discipline. Not the shallow discipline of routines and hacks. Not the aesthetic kind. The kind that hurts. The kind that humbles. Discipline that rewires your nervous system to choose growth over comfort. Truth over approval. Delayed mastery over instant pleasure. It is the spiritual armor of those who move with purpose. Discipline is what happens when motivation dies. When applause fades, when no one sees the silent war you're fighting, and you show up anyway. It's the contract you sign with your higher self. And every time you keep that contract, your identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries. You start seeing yourself as someone who executes. No excuses, no delays, no emotional weather reports. You just do, with or without permission, with or without praise. Because discipline isn't about control. It's about direction. You're no longer asking, how do I feel about this? You're asking, is this aligned with who I said I'd become? And that changes everything. Because when you align discipline with vision, you start moving like a force of nature, not chasing, not wishing, creating. Vision is not a dream. It's not fantasy. It's memory from the future, whispering back to you in moments of clarity. It's the pattern your soul remembers, even if your logic doesn't. You don't wait to see it before you act. You act to see it come alive. Most people need evidence to move. But the strong mind moves first and lets the evidence catch up. You're not here to replicate what's been done. You're here to initiate what's never existed. You're not here to be another version of safe. You're here to scare people, not with arrogance, but with conviction. That look in your eyes that says, I already know how this ends. That's vision. But vision without action is delusion. The strong mind doesn't just think deeply. It moves strategically. It acts while others overthink. It builds while others wait for signs. It takes steps not when everything is ready. But when the soul is ready, you want your reality to change, then change your behavior before the world tells you it's time. You don't build castles in the sky. You build foundations in the dirt. You show up. You move forward. You sacrifice convenience for construction, because real power is practical. It's not floating in affirmations. It's embedded in action. And every action you take, aligned with your vision, becomes a thread in the tapestry of your new identity. Not the identity they gave you, but the one you're forging with blood, focus, and non-negotiable integrity. But if you want to maintain that integrity, you must conquer the one thing no one teaches you how to master: your emotions. You will never build an unshakable mind if you're a slave to your emotional weather. Feelings are feedback, not fact. Signals, not instructions. Yes, they matter. Yes, they carry wisdom, but they are not the compass. You are. Emotional mastery is not suppression. It's transmutation. It's feeling the rage and not letting it become revenge. It's feeling the fear and not letting it become paralysis. It's feeling the sadness and still moving with purpose. The strong mind allows emotion to rise, but not to reign. It sees the emotion, names it, honors it, and then asks, now, what does truth require of me? Because emotion must serve the vision, not sabotage it. And when people see that in you, when they throw chaos, and you stay centered, when they project, and you remain composed, when they push every button you use to flinch at, and you don't react, that's when they feel it. That chill, that intimidation, not because you threaten them, but because you are no longer reachable by the forces that once controlled them. You become sovereign, untouchable, a psychological fortress. Good, because now that you forge discipline, now that you've chosen vision over validation, action over anxiety, and emotional mastery over emotional slavery, you're ready to unlock something most never reach. Gratitude, not the watered-down version, not the kind scribbled in journals to feel momentarily better, not I'm grateful for my coffee and move on with your day. I'm talking about soul-deep gratitude, the kind that requires awareness, not convenience, the kind that allows you to look at your past and say, thank you. Thank you to the betrayal. Thank you to the loss. Thank you to the silence, the rejection, the abandonment, because it broke you open. It cleared space. It forced the excavation of the real you. A strong mind doesn't resent the storm. It honors it. Because without the storm, there is no awakening. This is the kind of gratitude that terrifies people because it makes you immune to guilt, immune to manipulation, immune to the narrative that says you should be ashamed of your pain. No, you're not ashamed. You're thankful because your pain became power and your suffering became strategy. Gratitude is not passivity. It's presence. It's your refusal to be a victim of circumstance when you can be a master of meaning. And when you choose to walk through the world, not bitter, but blessed. Even with blood on your hands and scars on your skin, you become terrifying in the most beautiful way. Because gratitude makes you unbreakable. But even with clarity, even with emotional power, even with relentless gratitude, you still need one more thing: adaptability. Because the world will shift. The plan will fall apart. The certainty will collapse. And your strength will not be measured by how tightly you hold on, but by how gracefully you pivot. Rigidity is a symptom of fear. It's what happens when the ego needs control. But the mind that terrifies people, it flows, it adapts, it responds to life like a river carves through rock, not by force, but by presence over time. You're not attached to how it was supposed to go. You're loyal only to the truth, to now, to the moment, to your inner compass, not the map someone else drew. Because power isn't in knowing what's coming next. It's in trusting that you can handle whatever comes. And people will fear you for that, because they don't fear those who control the environment. They fear the one who controls themselves, no matter the environment. You are no longer brittle. You are fluid steel. You are rooted and yet in motion. You are a paradox the world cannot categorize. And then comes the last frontier, the place most never enter, because they stop learning. Once they start believing, they know. But not you. You understand. Learning is power, and power has no ego. You learn from failure. You learn from criticism. You learn from your enemies. You learn from the silence between your words. Because when the mind is strong, it is hungry, not for validation, but for truth. Not to be seen as wise, but to become wise. Not to impress, but to integrate. The strong mind reads between the lines. It studies people without needing to dominate them. It listens longer than it speaks. It observes longer than it judges. And while others get louder to look confident, you grow quieter, because you no longer need to announce the wisdom you embody. The student becomes the master only when they remain the student forever. You are a learner of life, of pain, of power, of patterns, of people, of yourself. And that makes you rare, and that makes you unstoppable. And yes, that makes you terrifying to those who pretend to know but never dared to become. Now listen, if you've made it this far, if you've burned the illusions, built the muscle, faced your shadows, and resurrected from your ruins, then you're ready to hear the one truth most are never told. You are no longer becoming powerful. You are power, not because of titles, not because of achievements, but because you have become the architect of your own mind. You've built it brick by brick, with every decision that cost you comfort, with every no that protected your peace, with every silent morning where you showed up when no one clapped. And now, you don't chase. You create. You don't explain. You embody. You don't seek permission. You move like the world adjusts to you. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. And people won't understand you. They're not supposed to. Because you built a mind that lives beyond their fear, beyond their control, beyond their expectations. You are not here to be palatable. You are not here to be accessible. You are not here to be soft for the comfort of those still stuck in the versions of you they imagined. You are here to be so real, so rooted, so relentless, that when they speak your name, they whisper, because you've become the one thing they can't fake, fabricate, or forget. A mind so strong, it terrifies people. And now, you walk forward, not with pride, but with presence. Not to prove, but to be. Not to fight, but to shine. Because nothing is more dangerous than a mind at peace with itself. And now, that mind is yours.